might look like a normal GT, but this is the GT63 E Performance, a car that uses an unnecessarily long and confusing name to portray one simple fact, that this is a V8 hybrid monster with 816 horsepower and the fastest 0 to 60 ever recorded by an AMG, even faster than the AMG ONE hypercar. Oh, 2.6 seconds. This is the quickest that we've tested on any AMG on the channel. That is ridiculously fast. But look, the standard GT63 was never a slow car. So why would you want this 816 horsepower hybrid monster? To answer that question, let's first take a peek under the skin, see what powers this thing, where does it sit in the history of AMG, and then we'll come back out here for a drive. Right guys, before we start today with the GT, a little bit behind the scenes for you today. Now, I'm not trying to get back to 1985. This is not a reenactment of Back to the Future. Rather, I want to show you two cameras that you're going to see some awesome shots from today. And they are, first of all, Insta360's famous X4 360 camera. And the second one is Insta's Ace Pro 2 that we're going to be using for action shots and inside of the car. Let's start with the Ace Pro 2. This has got a 1 to 1.3 Leica lens in here and a dual AI chip. It shoots up to 8K, it's got a folding upward screen, which is brilliant for when you have to frame a shot like I do all the time. Again, for someone like me, you can shoot in flat color, also for color grading, which is brilliant. And the other cool thing is, it's got this quick release system. So for example, we can have it here for the exhaust, and I can get a load of shots, and I'm always short on time, so I can just unplug it simply like this. I can jump straight back inside, plug that in, and it's literally as simple as that. And then Insta360's famous one. This is the X4 8K 360 camera, and I like to use it to get that video game like shot, following the car from behind, a bit of GTA if you like. Now let's talk about setting up the shot, which is actually ridiculously easy. I'm using Insta360's extended selfie stick edition, which goes up to 3 meters. We probably don't need that, and the good thing is we can reduce that if we want. So all I've done now, I've screwed that in. It can be in any position, and we can just reframe it later. There's no major thinking to do, and just make it completely yours on the editing room floor. Now, one thing that a lot of us worry about when we're filming cars and big invisible selfie sticks is, what about the thing swaying? So for this, we're using Insta's triple suction car mount. You just push the button to get the suction going on each side, and then there's no risk of the stick swaying or moving. And the cool thing is you can get into the Insta360 app, make sure your angle is right just before you set off, and keep an eye out in today's GT63 video for some really cool shots as well. And a huge thanks to Insta360 for supporting RBR as a channel. Now, let's head back and talk about the GT product line. So guys, I'll be the first to admit that the GT product line at the moment is a confusing mess. It starts with the useless GT43. Rear-wheel drive, 4 cylinders, 0 bias. It just makes no sense. Then, two of the best cars that AMG currently make, the V8 all-wheel drive GTs in the GT55 and the GT63. They look great, they handle great, they sound great, and they are pure V8s. Now, if you want a car that's incrementally faster than those in terms of speed and power, and just a bit better on track, you get the GT63 Pro. Still confusing because the previous GT Pro was an out-and-out track car, like an RS car or like a Black Series almost. But this is not that, it's just incrementally better. And then you have this, the 816 horsepower SE Performance. It's the fastest, the most powerful, the most expensive, and also the heaviest of the lot. And all of that is such a change to the previous GT lineup, where it was all very much a logical progression of rear-wheel drive sports cars, all leading up to the crazy 730 horsepower GT Black Series that had a logical purpose. It was a beast meant for track, meant to break the Nürburgring record, meant to be the best in class. And that made total sense to me. Whereas this car has more power than that car, but holds no such ambition, has no such accolades to its name. Instead, perhaps seeking to be something else entirely. And that is despite the fact that it pulls its technology in order to get that power straight out of F1. And that technology is a P3 hybrid system that assists our legendary 4-litre V8, which by itself is producing 612 brake horsepower attached to the 9-speed wet clutch gearbox. And the P3 hybrid system has a number of components. First, we have the permanently synchronous electric motor that sits on the rear axle, which is combined with the 2-speed gearbox and with the limited slip differential. So it's quite a clever unit that then sits in a good place in terms of weight balance, and this provides us quite a bit of power. 204 horsepower on boost and 100 horsepower all the time, and then a massive torque figure that we'll go into in a minute. Above that, we have the AMG Performance battery, and this has individual liquid cool cells. This is all derived from F1 with the ability to charge super quick and release energy super quickly. But it has barely any range, a measly 6 miles. So it's not to do with range and efficiency, it's all to do with performance. Though that's a little ironic, because then when you look at the practicality that's been hit by the fact that you have this system, you would hope that you would gain some hybrid benefit out of this. So altogether, this system produces 816 PS, a crazy 1420 Newton meters on the top boost level, otherwise around about 1,000. Still crazy numbers, and the quickest 0 to 60 of any AMG at 2.8 seconds. So pretty insane figures. And it does come with a few other tricks standard to help deal with the weight. We'll get onto weight in a second. It's got AMG's active suspension, which is controlled with a hydraulic pump. That is actually a brilliant system that allows the car to react within milliseconds at each wheel and keep the car either super rigid or comfortable. And this car needs that, so it's good that it's got it. We've also got rear wheel steering as standard and the ceramic brakes as standard, because it really does need it given the weight of the car. One of the great things about the standard V8 GTs is that you could fit even someone my size in the boot and close the boot. That's how practical it is. It's a massive, massive boot, way bigger than the old GT. This one, you lose the benefit of all of that because of the fact that you have the performance battery sitting right there in front of your eyes. So you lose a lot of that practicality element for a benefit that I'm not quite understanding yet. Let's see if that makes more sense on the road. You can charge the car here from this ill-placed charging port in the back. As you can see right here, the butt plug, as we call it. And again, a bit of a strange place. And that's the only thing that really shows you that this is an E-Performance, other than the red lettered bit here and the badge on the side. Now, if you've seen my SL63 E-Performance video, this is an identical setup in this car, albeit in a format and a car that's more rigid and more sporty and more apt, I think, for this whole system. But then, if we look design-wise, you can't really tell any difference between this car and a normal GT63, because they would, other than the charging port, look absolutely identical. And if you wanted a GT that was more powerful, that looked different, you would go for the Pro. So it's all a bit strange. Why is the most expensive, most powerful GT looking exactly the same as your entry-level one? So yes, 816 horsepower, 1400 Newton meters. But for the privilege of adding that P3 system, you add 225 kg onto the weight of this car. So it's just under 2.2 tons, which is heavy for a GT car, right? Now, the power to weight ratio is still stronger, even without the boost, than both the GT63 and the GT63 Pro. But then comically, you compare it to something like a 911 Turbo S, which has only got 650 horsepower. The power to weight ratio is nowhere near as good. So it's a bit of an odd one, but I don't think that's the be all and end all of this car, because when I look at this car, it reminds me of the AMG V12s of old. And I think there's a certain story to be told there where this car links to that. And even with those V12s, they would only make sense when you drive them on the road. So let's do that. Let's jump in. Let's drive it. Let's see if we can make sense of the most powerful GT and the fastest AMG that they've apparently ever made. Now, guys, this is a great interior in the GT. We love it. We love the fact that you've got the options of the rear seats. It's trimmed really well. It feels a level above something like a 911. All of that is great. And in terms of the hybrid element, AMG have actually thrown a load of information in the performance screens here for you, from energy flow to drive to vehicle to the engine itself. You can see where the power is going, where it's coming from. Just like an engineer at AMG, you'll be able to see every single detail. And I love that element of their system. Now, the other thing about this car is, as we go for a drive now, it always starts off in electric mode, in EV mode. And you've got a number of driving modes in here, ranging from race all the way down to electric, battery hold, etc. We're going to talk about these as we go out now, starting an AMG GT in EV mode, which is so strange. But actually, you know what? It's strangely wonderful. Well, actually, before that, I forgot something that we have to do. Have a listen to the V8. Okay, that's better. Now we can go out in EV mode. Starting off in a car that looks like this, in a silent EV mode, albeit with some electric sound, is as surreal experience as you might imagine. In fact, it's even more surreal than when I did it in the AMG ONE hypercar, but because the GT has this long heritage of pure V8 combustion cars, and to see a car of this shape and to sit in one and you're driving in pure EV mode is a really weird feeling. And to be honest, I actually love it. You leave home in pure electric mode, and then as soon as you get a nice patch of road, you shift into race mode, and alive comes the V8 and all that wonderful sound and emotion. And I must say, I love that aspect. It's highly addictive to do it. The problem is that it doesn't last very long because the car wasn't built with that in mind, that you would do it again and again. So naturally, you just settle into a sport mode instead. And credit where credit is due to this car. First 100 yards when you're driving it fast, it feels really quite indistinguishable to the standard GT63. The body movement is similar, the soundtrack as addictive, as angry. The gearbox, the urgency, everything. This is a GT immediately. Foot to the floor, and it's not a GT anymore. It's a ballistic missile. Unhinged, it's untamable, and the delivery to tarmac is insane. There's no slip, no lag. It's like a full-blown EV, but powered by a V8. Yes, okay, 2.6 seconds is not a million miles off the 2.9 of the GT63, but it feels so much faster in every scenario. There's not a single gear where the power isn't available. It sounds absolutely insane. I think that power feeling must be down to the torque, how much more torque we have. And then when you're putting down the power, you can really feel the torque management system working, that clever brain putting the power of not just the V8 but the electric engine to the different wheels where needed. And sometimes in that regard it can feel a little bit nannying, particularly if you don't pull off with the assistance systems. But I tell you what, to put down this type of power so consistently on every wheel without any slip, I mean, ask anyone who's ever driven a tuned car. That is not easy to do consistently, and it's a part of this car that really stands out. And that's especially at lower speeds where large horsepower cars always fail. This can always put down the power, which is so impressive. And that 0 to 60 really proves that. I don't think there's anything beyond EVs that's actually done it quicker for me yet on this channel from what I can remember. So speed, grip, very, very impressive. As we begin to drive faster, steering and handling it's different. It's not as pure as the pure V8 versions of the car. There's that inertia of the weight that you simply can't get away from. There's a heaviness in between steering inputs, in between turns, that you simply can't negate. I don't mean to say that it can't handle the same turnings in the same way, it's just the feedback you get through the wheel. It's more complicated for you as a driver to analyze those signals and then react upon them. If anything, it kind of feels like what might have happened if they've chucked a V12 into this shape of car and then handed it to you. That's kind of how the steering and the handling and that kind of, it feels like those larger Grand Tourers with V12s. And then sometimes when you hit some bumps in the road, you really do feel the weight, particularly in our crappy UKB roads. But AMG must be applauded for, I don't know how they hid the weight of this car with regard to the handling. You read the figures. You know, there's some parts of its handling and its body roll that makes you think that it can never handle this turning ever, and it just does it, and it does it effortlessly. And you're just like, how did they do this? What black magic sits underneath this body shell that allows it to do this? It's incredible. Right, now listen up. Sound, very important. It's such a great soundtrack, so bolshy, so angry, so unhinged. It's the greatest musical instrument that Germany has ever dared export. And I absolutely love it. It's such a big part of this experience, even in this hybrid car. And I love it. It's so AMG. Now you may sense I have some mixed feelings about this car throughout this video, and I do. The first issue here is the naming convention. GT63 S E Performance Coupe is a crap name. okay? When this car was first rumoured many years ago, or in fact this whole format, AMG had trademarked the 73 AMG names. And of course, in the past, the 73 AMGs were used to describe some crazy old V12 AMGs that were very rare. And I thought that that's what these were going to be, because this format fits that idea perfectly. The old V12s of AMG were exactly like this. They were always either the same speed or slower to 60 than the V8s. They were never as good dynamically, being a bit more front heavy, you know, but they made up for it with a totally different engine technology that you respected and you loved the sound of, etc. So you were kind of okay with it. And those cars would also then look slightly different aesthetically as well. Here, AMG are trying to sell you that exact same idea, but in a much less sexy way in terms of just the marketing. And if that was their intention, if it was meant to replace the V12, then even today I would say to them, you need a better name and you need an aesthetic that, you know, does justice to what you're trying to sell here as a premium car above the 63. Naming convention aside, I love the hybrid element of this car. I love having the electric range and then switching into Sport Plus in better roads. But the fact is, it just doesn't last long enough. And AMG's decision to push back the EV and the hybrid side to the background in this car and only focus on pure performance is perhaps this car's biggest failing. I mean, if you'd wanted to do just a performance-based hybrid, AMG already had the tech that Porsche are using in the T-Hybrid with the E-Turbo in the C43 and the C63. They could have leveraged that in a car like this, which would have made a lot of sense. Yes, only adding 50 horsepower, but only 70 kg instead of 300, which is pretty insane. Or if you wanted to go full hybrid, then give us the full hybrid experience. Give us 20, 30 miles EV range, and then it all makes a bit more sense. And think of it this way, even an awesome hybrid that we all have started to love, like the new M5, if that had 0 electric miles or just a few and had all that weight and just a bit more power, how would you feel about it? I think that car would have failed in that scenario as well, but it doesn't. It has a lot of hybrid range. And when was the GT63 ever really considered slow? I never came out of that car and thought, oh God, I need 200 more horsepower. And if you really wanted a faster car than that, like genuinely faster on track, surely you'd go for the GT63 Pro, which is a little bit cheaper than this car is. For most people looking for a GT, I would recommend you do what I have done recently. Order a GT55. Starts at 140k, same V8, exact same technical ability, suspension, chassis, everything, just a bit less power, and that's before you get a discount. It's all the experience that you'll ever need. Or maybe consider the 911 T-Hybrid, which is a more convincing hybrid concept. Though I say that, and I had the T-Hybrid at the exact same time that I had this car at home, yet for some reason I kept going to this car. It is so strange, isn't it? That car is probably better than this in every performance and sports car metric that you can measure, yet somehow the GT's ability to bring joy is just unparalleled in this space. Last time I drove the GT63 not long ago, I described the 911 as the really healthy meal that's really great for you. But the GT was the juicy burger that makes you smile. And even with this flawed performance model, I just can't seem to get away from that analogy, nor do I seem to have the ability to resist the keys. Food for thought, perhaps. See you guys next time.